Welcome back to the HGC. We are watching Synergy and Tricked Esports face off, and Synergy is up 2-0 with an incredibly quick game on Braxton's holdout. 7 minutes and 40 seconds they ended the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Caldor is still in shock, even after a break.
Yeah, the thing is, we are going into the third game right now, and you're 0-2. So if you're Tricked, you need to win 3 games in a row. And we all talked a lot about how important this is. You don't want to drop into the Crucible. Alex and his boys said, okay, we practiced a lot. We really want to make sure we are much better than this, than what we showed so far. We want to make sure that we can bring that into the games. And they haven't been able to do that. And it's not like the first game was really close. But the second game, they just got annihilated. Now, there's 2 reactions to that. Either you are like, okay, guys, we just got bodied. Let's forget about that and focus on the next one. Or you're all of a sudden getting tilted. Because not only are you 0-2, you also got destroyed in your last game. And if that actually gets into their head now, I'm very, very afraid for the next map. I'm really afraid for them. I think if Synergy comes out of the gate again like they just did, we could see a 3-0 here.
Well, let's find out. Where are we going? Game number 3. Can we have any more shenanigans happening here for Tricked Esports? Will they go down 0-3? The battleground choice, obviously very, very important for our teams here. We are going into Cursed Hollow. Synergy has elected to choose it, which means Tricked Esports has chosen to take first pick.
So I like Cursed for the reason that it's a very stable map, but when we're talking about Synergy, they love to throw every now and then a bit of an oddball draft out there. They have played a ton of Vikings in the past, they are very good with the Abathur, so they have a couple of heroes that they can really bring into the game now, into the draft, where they say, hey, we actually are not going to play a standard game against you, we are going to throw you a curveball, let's see if you can deal with that. And they are in the position to do it now, because if you're 2-0, you should take risks. You should actually start to see, okay, can we maybe do something a little bit unorthodox that we feel very comfortable with, that we trained, but that our opponent might not expect.
Yeah, if we see a false set pickup on the other side of Synergy, that's when you should start worrying about the Vikings pickup. They started to really maximize and optimize the strategy around the 3rd and 4th week of the HGC, where they would get Falstad. Falstad would be their offlane soaker / Mighty Gus engager that would drop people away from fights so the Vikings could soak and be constantly aggressive. That happened on Towers of Doom and Cursed Hollow. So if Tricked Esports has done their research, they got to keep an eye out for that.
When I was coaching for Kings and Warcraft 3 back then, we actually headed into a final, and it was one of those scenarios where we came from a winner bracket, so we had a huge advantage, and our opponent had to win 2 best-of-3s. And the important thing for them was, like, we made a mistake back then because we made it very standard to them. So we actually went into this, and they got exactly what they expected. We never really took that risk, and we paid hard for that lesson. So this is something that I feel like Synergy needs to do right now. They have so many games where they have 3 games where they just have to take 1 map. They can really go into this and say, like, okay, let's take a couple of risks here. Nothing crazy, but something calculated where you feel you play something that you wouldn't show on a 5th map, but where you just try, let's make ourselves a little bit unpredictable at this point and see how they are going to deal with it. Because you can make that happen. You are in the most comfortable position you could possibly be in right now.
It's an interesting point because you mentioned they're in the most comfortable position they could ever be in. So there's always a thought of why mess that up and just play the normal thing we've been playing the last couple rounds. Do we get our Vola and our Ariel and just keep running with it? But there is a lot of stuff that you could talk about, as you just mentioned there, of really just trying to mix it up in game number 3. If you just completely keep your opponents off of their footing, that's when you can earn those wins.
Yeah, but again, it's really important that if you do that, you don't go overboard with it. Like you want to play something that you're still very comfortable with, but you just want to mix it up a little bit. This is why I've been talking about the Abathur, for example. I don't really think we're necessarily going to see the Vikings. It's an option. Team Liquid has done it. But an Abathur draft, for example, might be something that in this case now Tricked is not really going to be prepared for.
Well, Synergy thinking about their pickups. We've been seeing Ariel involved the last couple of times. If we do see any deviation from that normal draft up, now is the time to see that. I wonder if Abathur pickup early is the right call, though. Do you get it in the 1st and 2nd slot here?
If they want to do it, I wouldn't do it now. I would still think about potentially a Grey main. If you want to go down that path, there's of course a chance that Tricked is going to ban that out, but then they're losing a ban for that. At this point, I feel you have to answer a couple of questions. First of all, the Aurea-Vala combo has been played a lot, so that might be something they fall back to. There's still a global available that you could also prioritize over it, and there's always the threat of a Grey main on this battleground. So those are the 3 things that I feel they have to judge now how important they are to them.
Falstad, Lucio being picked up. So Tricked Esports now seriously needs to be thinking about that Viking pickup later on. This has been the pickup that we've seen in the past for Synergy. The difference now, Lucio's in the game.
Yeah.
So now any strong 4-man or any strong 3-man is going to be great for synergy.
So at this point, they prioritize the global over what they usually played. So we are not seeing that Vala. We don't have that combo with the Oriole, which they showed several times now. Instead, after the ban on Dehaka, they immediately said, okay, we want to have the false set here. We're going to have that move again. And Trick falls back into something that we have seen several times from them right now. And so far, we actually saw Synergy deal with that. So we have, again, the Anubarak. We have the Arthas. It's a great combo to have. And we have the Gul'dan on top of that. You've been talking a lot about the Horrify in the previous games, and I completely agree with that. It is a game changer after level 10. So that's an asset that Trick now has. But they are still falling back on that MO that they've been showing.
And now Synergy, thinking about what they want to ban out. Typically, when you see a Gul'dan, you'll ban out the Ariel. However, they have Lucio, so there still is the indication that they could run double support. Again, with them creating the meta right now for Europe. Ariel, Lucio, great combination, and they'll be able to pick that up in that 3rd and 4th slot. So they can leave it here and have Trick Esport move into the Ariel ban themselves. So there's always a chance of, like, what do we want to get rid of? Typically, it'll be the Malfurion or a Rhaegar with the double Warriors.
Malfurion banned out. This is, I feel, a really good ban, because Trick has shown Malfurion every single game. And they have now a situation where they are not having the same amount of lockdown. So Arthur's Anubarak, which we've seen before, was always followed up by a Malfurion route. And this time they ban him out, so this is going to make it a little bit more tricky for Trick Esports. So they need to, pun not intended. Don't look at me like that. It's really just slipped out. It was not intentional.
Yeah, totally. Just fell out. Yep. Totally cool, man. Vala has been banned out. The Vala combination has been powerful. In the next rotation, we can have the Ariel and the Vala for synergy, and they would have a global pressure, and they would get a solo tank, probably a Varian or a Muradin here, so they would have a strong rotation that they know that they can run off really well. So the Vala gets banned out for Esport, but I'm getting more and more frightened, man, for the old synergy Viking pusheroni that they pull off so well.
I'm not quite sure if Viking wouldn't be pushing it too hard, but we've seen it here. So
yeah,
again, they could play with the setup that they have right now. They don't have to go into anything crazy. It's just like always an option for them. So they should think about it. But I don't really think that if they don't do anything like it now, it would be a massive mistake on their end. But being ahead 2-0 gives you certain options that you can explore if you are trying to just make sure that your opponent doesn't get adjusted to what you have been playing so far.
Well, if you want to hide your 5th pick here, you grab another support and a warrior, right? No matter what?
Yeah. I mean, right now, the one hero that I'm currently looking to is I want to see if they pick up a Greymane or not. And they go into the Tychus instead. So the Johanna and a Tychus with it. Personally, I'm a fan of having Greymane in these situations. They decided to not do that. If you then want to go for a different pick later, you could have done that. So I think we're probably going to see a pretty standard one from them. But going into the Tychus and the Fawcett here, already shifting things up a little bit.
The instant Oriole to mix in with the Golden, and now we're waiting for our 5th hero. Would like to say a 5th pickup. I wouldn't mind seeing some auto attacks being available here, but what is floating around? Zul'jin being picked up maybe? Or even, gosh, Raynor?
I actually think that Reyna is a bit underplayed. The problem that I have with Reyna, though, is that there's a lot of other heroes that usually have a bit more mobility and nearly do the same. Greymane is a great example for that. Not quite the same style. Reyna just has mobility problems, and an issue is if your opponent has anything that can jump onto him. So even a Falstad with a good positioning before Mighty Gust can put him into a pretty awkward spot there. And then you have a Johanna against him as well, so blinds are also becoming an issue. Greymane is also going to jump into the back line. But I could see this becoming another second support for Synergy. I think if Oriole wouldn't be taken by Trick, this would have been a consideration at least for them.
All right, well, Synergy, let's find out what your final pickup will be. They have Global Pressure already. They have Solid Tank Buster with Tychus, and they have their Lucio. It's going to be a Leoric pickup, so a second warrior. They're going to get their engage here with their Entombs.
Alright, so we are going to have C Entombs, a bit more wave play on their end. Also the Drain Hope, of course, great against the Arthurs in particular, so that's going to be good for them. Yeah.
Is this a composition to burn down Arthas? You get an Entomb, you drop your W down, you Mighty Gust everyone else away, and you burn down Arthas.
I mean, the combo with an Entomb and a Mighty Gust is, of course, like the dream. You always want to try and do that. But if you necessarily want to make that an Arthur's, I'm not quite sure. But you can definitely play that. I mean, if you get the Entomb and There's a lot of ifs and whens, though. Like, this is like the ideal scenario. You get the Entomb, Oriole doesn't react in time, you just like gust them away, and then you can have Tychus getting all the damage in, so that it works. But Entomb isolations need to be a big part of this. I completely agree with that. I think that's true.
Well, in terms of actual wave clear, they have their Johanna, so they are set up. I am worried about that Tychus, as I've always been, man. The latest changes from him, 4 or 5 weeks ago, the changes of him not being able to really get up close to fights anymore, or he has to actually push in and put himself in danger, is something that is relatively scary. However, with Sound Barrier being available, this can be something that can be saved here by our Lucio. And then, of course, there's always a saving moment for Johanna, Blessed Shield, and the blinds on the Grey main. So it all comes down to that.
I'm a bit surprised that they didn't pick up the Greyman, to be honest with you. Like, he was very late in the draft now. I feel he has a huge priority. Just seems to be one of those comfort things where you are saying, okay, we don't really want to use the Greyman here. We're a bit more comfortable going into a different hero, in this case the Tychus. But I could have definitely seen them at the Greyman instead and just like try to jump the backline with the rest of the team.
There's always a discussion about Odin being powerful with a push, right? If you get Cursed or if you even get a boss going, Odin is a little bit better in Greyman in that regard. But in terms of actual team fights, I agree with you. Greyman would have been the overall better pickup. But obviously Synergy here has a plan. They want to run their Tychus, pull off that Odin if possible.
They are 2-0, and they have shown fantastic games. The first one was incredibly close, but well played from both sides. Second one, massive storm. So they are doing really well here. If they feel confident with this draft, then hey, I'm not going to argue.
I don't know if I would be comfortable with it. That's all I'm saying. If I had this draft, I'd be like, okay, well, maybe if we get to late game and we get the plays happening, we can make it work out.
I would give the edge to Tricked when it comes to sheer drafting. But Synergy seemed very confident into what they've been doing so far. They show a lot of confidence here today. They're a little bit more disciplined than they were before. So from a pure draft perspective, I would say Tricked has a good spot here. But then at the same time, that last loss has to ignore them. And that has to have a psychological impact as well going into this. And yeah, we've been talking about the Crucible. You lose one map right now if you are Tricked, and you are more or less guaranteed a spot in the Crucible, and that's not where you want to be.
That is not where you want to be. Let's find out if they can hold on here and take on Synergy. This is game number 3. We are going to Cursed Hollow Synergy versus Tricked Esport.
Jumping into our third map, and actually, as fighting as it might sound to Tricked Esports fan, it might be the last map here today for this match. Eternal on the Grey main, we have Crosby for Tricked on Gul'dan, and of course here to the left in blue, Alex again on Arthas with Rema Baller on Anubarak, and Gnappe playing Oriole.
To the right in the red, up 2-0 over their opponents. Power of Dream will be on Johanna, Sir Ice Cream on Tychus, Neon on Falstad, Hydra on Leoric, and Sefka showing off his Lucio.
Pretty happy that we're seeing not only the Tychus but also the Leoric in here. A huge variety in heroes. And especially with Heroes 2.0 being released now next week, it's just absolutely fantastic to see all that unfold. And once again, we've been talking earlier a bit about it already, but I want to highlight again that we have mega bundles coming into the game, and they are basically for free, guys. That's one of the most craziest things that we have with Heroes 2.0. If you want to check all of that out, you can go to playheroes.com. It's actually pretty impressive, so if you haven't really heard about it, this is really the time to start playing Heroes of the Storm to get some friends in and grab some of those free heroes.
Sir Ice Cream going in for an engage, does miss a grenade, so Crosby will keep up with the Drain Life, but really wanting to apply the pressure there. This top lane is going to be in a pretty good spot for Tricked Esports, having Crosby on the Gul'dan. They clear waves quickly, and then Nappy just being in with that Hope Battery as he continues to apply damage.
That Attainment Strike could have been the end of Johanna. If that hits, if that connects and he gets stuns towards the tower, then you are out. So Tricked is definitely... Trick controls a setup that is really allowing them to put a lot of pressure onto that lane here up to the top for sure. And when we're looking at Synergy, they have to of course also look a bit on to someone like Leoric, who interestingly enough went into block as a level 1 talent. Not really a massive fan of that. I really feel hopelessness if you're going to Drain Hope build is much more impactful towards the later stages. Normally you are going into block when you're really worried about losing your own solo lane hard. I don't necessarily think that against an Arthas that would be the case if he hits his Ws correctly.
Well, let's see if that pays off. It will be helpful against Greyman when he goes in for the engages later on. If he does his Ws, he should be able to sustain anyways due to Arthas, so perhaps the sustainability needs to be a little bit better there with the block. I do want to note that Tricked Esports, if they do break down this wall in the top right, they'll start pushing in slightly too heavily, and we've positioned Falstad in the middle lane. Normally you see Falstad in the bottom or in the top, so he can rotate in, but with Falstad being in the middle, he can fly in on top of that Gul'dan on the Ario and get a takedown, so Tricked Esports has to be careful, and they're not pushing too heavily in that top lane because of Falstad's position. positioning.
Yeah, and we have now only one of the teams going for the mercenary camps 2 minutes in on Gul'dan. Yeah, sorry bro, but you're not going to get it out of this one. Gul'dan falling, so they pay for Eternal taking the mercenary camp with the life of one of their heroes. And that should at least give them a slight edge now, depending on where the tribute spawns. It's of course always the same thing here on Cursed Hollow. You 2 minutes in, you're trying to go for your own siege giants to get a bit of an edge when the tribute spawns on the map.
Okay, so it's all about when those spawn. In the next 20 seconds, we should be seeing it. Could be spawning at any point until then. Pushing the top here. Synergy's main goal is to hopefully get rid of these giants, and that would be wonderful for them. Oh, luckily the tribute was spawned in the top right corner, so the giants for Trick Esports won't pay off too much.
Yeah, Synergy is gonna move to the top lane with everything they have and make sure that they fight for the tribute. They should be able at the same time to defend against the siege giants. And Leoric down to the bottom of the map is going to wait to see what Arthas is going to do. So if Arthas stays bot lane, he's going to stay on the bot lane as well. If Arthas starts to move, then Leoric is going to make his way up to the top too. But Knappe is nearly completing the channel. Sevka on his Lucio is moving in time though to make sure that they can get the interrupt. And of course now that the siege giants are taken out, the team can focus on this a bit more heavily.
Yeah, there's not much of a hard, aggressive play for this tribute. Both teams are okay with delaying it. As their level 10s are probably where they get really strong. Arthas did move into the middle here, which is indicated to Leoric that he should go for the rotation as well. He did scout Arthas though, so he should be able to head back to the bottom. Sevka gets the tribute on the right side. Sir Ice Cream continues to apply pressure to Gul'dan.
The hope for Tricked was that they can get a kill against Falstad in the mid lane, but Neon paid attention. So Arthur sneaking away from Leoric, making his way into the middle, and Anubarak then engaging, hoping for that Howling Blast follow-up. But with Neon moving out of the way, they could save him as a target. So that was actually really important on their end. They get the tribute as well, as you already said. So they find themselves in a very, very good spot now going into second one. Experience still the same. Of course, our builds are also progressing. A hybrid build on Falstad, as we oftentimes see. And Ghastly Reach taken on the side of Leoric, not using the Paralyzing Rage on level 7.
Interesting use of Lucio and Tychus here. I'm actually really enjoying it. Sevka using the Amp It Up. Tychus with his overkill is able to chase down targets that are damage targets. So the Gul'dan, and now look at that. We had a Greymane just focused down by overkill, and Lucio just guiding him forward.
And this is a 2-0 now in kills. And it's a second tribute that they're able to get too. Synergy has stepped it up massively. We saw great games out of Tricked last time, and now all of a sudden they are down 0-2 in the best of 5 series. And we have Synergy starting to take a solid lead in this third game. This is very impressive what the Russian team is currently showing us.
And one has to wonder if Trick Esports even communicated that rotation from the top lane to the middle lane. Granted, Lucio is fast and usually get down there to the middle lane, but that's still a good 5 to 6 seconds before anyone shows up. How did Greymane get caught out of position if the team was communicating?
And one of the I mean, we have to talk about that these two teams are actually having the exact same record so far in HGC. And Synergy has really only been able to take BGenius out. They're the only team in the league that has only won against a single contender. And now if they can take out Tricked, who's also a direct competitor, that would be absolutely crazy. Especially with the 3-0, because we all expected this to be a super close series. Personally, I expected 5 maps out of this one.
Easily, yeah.
And right now, Synergy is looking strong. But it would be a mistake to count Tricked out. They have a very high skill level on the individual players, and they are going to try to go for the kill against Tychus, and there we have it. Tricked showing signs of life.
That's what they need right there. A pick-off right before level 10. If not, Synergy could have gotten into a fight, got 10 themselves, and a curse, which would have been a very poor spot. We may have actually seen another Braxis holdout situation happening where they kind of get laid out in their forts and potentially a keep. So now with 10 here, Trick Esports will get the first tribute of the game for them in the top left. Synergy forced to play safe here and get 10 themselves.
Yeah, so right now, again, both of the teams are now on level 10, and that is now the moment where we have the Entomb plays that we mentioned earlier. So Tomb and Gust could be a thing. Interesting also to see that we have the Shield Talon on level 7 taken by Johanna, aiming for a bit more damage. Normally, a lot of the teams are starting to move away from Conviction, which actually I find really surprising, since it's such an incredible tool for engaging into fights and also making sure that you are able to escape, that you get a lot there for your team. Hydra at the bottom falling as he's trying to slow down this attack against the boss a little bit, but both of the teams are going to go for an exchange.
What I like about that is Trick Esports didn't kill him fast enough. They could have actually killed him earlier, but they allowed him to live for a longer period until 4 members came down so they could kill the boss before Leoric reanimated and came back to the fight. Solid control over Leoric.
I'm waiting for these teams. Oh, that's a great position now, of course, for that tribute. That is fantastic. They should be able to grab this one. And Uberok is going to try and delay it.
Yep, Hydra's slowing down Arthas 2 here. Arthas will have a hard time rotating to that lane. Synergy set up here. Rimmer with the big bet of barbs here. Slow down the engage. Boss already pushing in the top. Tribute has yet to be grabbed here, so Trick Esport will have a chance to actually go for a fight. But Neon with the big fly coming in from the side.
Yeah, the fly in there, and here comes the gust after the Entomb is being locked down. Knappe falls, Eternal dying too. It's a double as they try to go straight in for Arthas. Everybody low on the side of Synergy. They don't care. They still engage, and it's a triple.
Sir Ice Cream on the side just laying into anyone he can auto attack and being uncontested. Synergy getting 3 kills there. Only Gul'dan and a Nubrak will live, and the tribute is up for grabs. Synergy grabbing a curse.
That boss is still en route, but it's so low that it won't really benefit from that curse. That's the only problem with all of this. So right now they're delaying it even further. They are waiting to get a bit more value out of it.
Yep, they're wanting to get Falsa down the bottom so he can soak that experience and clear out the wave at the same time with one hammering.
Yep.
So there it goes. 13 will be hitting for the team. Everyone's grouping up here in the middle. Synergy looking for a potential engage. Entomb is available.
Yeah, Hydra for a moment looking for some Leoric trade value here. Playing with fire, getting attacked, but not falling so far. And with Sefka being around, the heal is finally present for him. 13 talents on both sides and the extra damage now for Leoric, thanks to the Drain Hope, if he gets the entire duration through. That's great when you go for Entomb. It's of course a standard talent right now, but here comes Trick. They want to get the kill, and they take down Leoric with a good Horrify, pushing him into the team.
Yep, Hydra not able to use Entomb there. Falsa continues to hit in the bottom lane, so that fort will be cleaned up. But with Trick Esports going in for that engage, they should be able to hold their middle lane forward now. Hydra working on trying to respawn at the time, hoping to maybe get an Entomb the moment that he spawns here. And if Falstad flies in and brings in a Mighty Gust without Arthas being here, Synergy has a chance to turn the fight around.
Trick is actually doing a pretty decent job with the defense here. Overall, Synergy picked up a lot of experience thanks to them hogging the lanes and taking down the waves. Falstad is flying in right now after taking down the fort here. Once again, Entomb and Mighty Gust, but not really doing anything for them. Here comes Sefka popping the older Lucio, but they're super low. Leoric moves out, but what about Power of 3?
Oh, they're kiting here. Neon does hit the hammering on Arthas, which will slow him down. Arthas coming in with a big rotation once again. Does stop Synergy's amazing push into the left side there. The Mighty Gust almost getting the kill, but the life drain lasting a little bit too long there, allowed for Gul'dan to live, and Synergy is forced to back home while Giants are pushing their top fort.
The Giants are pushing up at the top, but overall, if you look at experience, Trick did very well with the defense. They lost 1 fort, and that's it. So they can be pretty happy about that. They didn't fall too far behind. We have a slight lead for Synergy still. In kills, it's still 3 versus 5. And also here with the damage output, Tyke is doing really well. Leoric is pretty much standard, also getting good pressure out, especially going straight into the level 13. That's of course super important for him here. Not only does he have the extra heal on 4, but we're seeing them here now with a Crushing Hope. And if you get the entire duration through after good Entomb, that's fantastic for you, especially if you're going against tanks, you can burn them down so much faster.
Well, Synergy working towards 16 now to get their next level of talents. Going to be forced to fight around the next shrine if it does spawn in the next minute or so. They could give it up if they would like to and just put pressure on other parts of the map. The problem is, when you do well in the early game, you don't have much to push down. And with Trick Esports grabbing mercenary camps in the middle and pushing in, they are setting themselves up to make sure they have a strong fortification in the middle of the map.
Synergy is still using the power of the global. They won the level 16, so they have Falstad always on that off lane, trying to make sure that the global gives them some value. And that's important that you don't only pick these heroes, you need to utilize them perfectly. And now with them starting to head into the next talent, Falstad is still looking to see if he can maybe use his position to use Mighty Gust and push someone into the fort, but it's so low already, wouldn't really give them much value. They're just aiming to get an advantage through their experience.
Okay, 16 about to hit. There it is. Trick Esports did retreat well. There's the pressure in the top and the bottom, though, so Trick Esports is going to be forced to go defend that, and Synergy takes the opportunity to kill the fort in the middle. So now, with all the forts being down, the battleground has opened up well, which makes that Entomb into Mighty Gust combo that much more stronger if anyone does get picked off. Also, just a simple fly-in from Neon behind a composition that has 3 people can be death. So Trick Esports has to play safe here, and with the tribute spawning on the right side, Synergy is already in a great position to contest it.
Well, position advantage is definitely there. They can try and zone against any kind of Trick Esports moves, but it looks a little bit like they're just, yeah, they're stopping this early. They have everyone set up towards the bottom left, making sure that they just buy the space for Neon so they can easily pick up the tribute. Trick didn't really want to engage into a fight there in the first place since they didn't have the talent yet. It's the first tribute for them, so they didn't care. But here's the Entomb, as he said, and that's another fight forced by Synergy.
There's going to be the Aegis on the right side. Hydra's low on health. They're working on trying to kill the Anubrak. Rimmer's low on health. He does fall. Odin's on the right side, chunking away on top of Arthas. Big hammering coming in. Johanna looking for the takedown. Sefka does heal up his teammates, and this is the moment where you make the call. Do you grab the boss?
You could definitely make that play. You still have Odin for a bit longer. There's one of the main divers is already out, so you could position yourself properly for this, especially since we're only having 17 seconds until Entomb is back. They are starting to pressure Alexia. Horrify is being used. Tychus is blown to pieces. That was a great Horrify by Gul'dan, resulting in a double kill, and they could take down another hero easily.
Impressive play there from Trick Esports. The Horrify coming out, and that could be the game turner here for Trick Esports. The boss now will be pushing the bottom left. That moves in towards a keep. Synergy has to make a call to move on to their boss in case Trick Esports were to move on over. But Synergy now is forced to deal with a big amount of pressure coming to the bottom lane while a tribute spawns.
This seriously looked for a moment like they forgot about Horrify here. Like, you can go for that boss play, but you need to make sure that you position yourself and that the tank is zoning out. So now, again, they find themselves in a spot where an advantage turns into a pretty tricky situation for them. We're having the blue team moving in through that bot lane now, and that should be the first keep of the game.
Yeah, that should be a keep, 100%. Falstad could fly in and go for a money gust from behind. That is kind of risky there. Although we do have Alex Aproji being focused down. The Aegis comes out. There's a sound barrier. Alex Aproji is being looked at here. He's focusing him down, but the Army of the Dead kicking in here. He can turn around and go for the engage.
Oriel with a super important heal now too. Falstad rooted, taken down. Tricked is all of a sudden on a roll here. They're moving in Synergy with so many problems at this point. The keep is gone, and Tricked is starting to turn their attention towards the core.
Hydra being focused down. Eternal goes for the kill. Hydra's going to survive for now. The boss continues to be focused down. It has been defended. Trick Esports makes a call to retreat there, as they could not secure another takedown.
Wow, that was a close call right there, especially after we saw Falstad die. If they get another kill, that could theoretically be the end of it. Now, Tricked, of course, has another tribute on the map that they can take now. They're on the way towards the tribute. They take out another fort. Falstad isn't back yet, so that's an easy tribute to take for Tricked, or at least it should be. Synergy is going to try and poke a little bit, and Falstad can fly in. There comes the Entomb. Rema wants to dive into the backline. He's looking for a good position.
He's playing patient. Big Horrify hits again. Here's the on the left here. They're going straight for Alex Aproji. He's low on health. There is the Aegis. Sir Ice Cream helping out. Big Mighty Gus. But will you be able to do anything? The answer is no. Synergy needs to retreat.
These Horrifies.
They're massive.
Yeah, the Horrifies are definitely the game-changing aspect here. First of all, the one a bit earlier around the boss area where they are able to get a kill against the first Tychus and then later on Johanna too. And now this one as well. That was really important. They're doing great with these. And that's a problem for Synergy right now. Especially when we're talking about these close quarters. There's just not enough space. You have to funnel through these situations or through these points, and then Gul'dan is just going to wait for the Horrify to drop.
And suddenly momentum that was on the side of Synergy here is looking non-existent as Trick Esports continues to move forward. That Gul'dan is chunking members in the back, Sir Ice Cream in particular. Falstad forced to be on cleanup duty, doing what globals do best, clearing out the catapults in the bottom lane. This boss in the top right corner is the only major spot that either team can make a big play. So we see 4 members here. Hydra low on health is going to need a heal. Does not get it there from Lucio. And now Hydra in Spooky Goat's form floating around.
Synergy all of a sudden feels very pressured. They make a couple of mistakes at this point. They are a bit too far out, and Trick is really moving in with the momentum. That one turn, that point at the boss, the fight down there, that was really the turning point. And now all of a sudden it's Trick who is trying to just carry the momentum with all of the opponent's base. Again, once more the Horrify. They're jumping on Tychus. This time he pops Odin though. That gives him a little bit of resistance here, and they should be able to walk away. Oh, their power is low. And there's the Gus to save them, at least for now.
With the Gus being down, Trick Esports moves on for the tribute, and this will be the curse. They could also grab a boss at the same time. The curse will allow for them to push into the keeps in the top and the middle. Lior goes out to scout to make sure bosses can be grabbed at the same time. So now Synergy has to have a miracle defense.
That 20 is going to be a massive, massive problem. Trick is going to try and get 2-3 waves to get sure that they get the towers here. That would help as well. Just get the experience for level 20 and then go for the next one. One keep is already down. If the second keep falls, That would be so bad in the overall scheme of things. So yeah, Trick is doing really well here. After a shaky start, that's awesome.
Synergy is hoping to live here. 19.5 in experience. There's going to be a window for Trick Esports to push. They are doing so. Once they kill these turrets, they get 20. There it is. Now I'm watching Power. Power is the major one that's going to try and slow down this push. You don't want to go for a hard engage with it being 20 to 19, but you do want to save your keep. Sefka is being hit by Rimmer on the right side.
The Sef guy's really being hit really hard, especially by that Gul'dan.
Oh, wow.
Great play. Lucio is down. That's what we were talking about. And now all of a sudden, Trick is saying, all right, boys, it is time to party. Let's go in, drop the 2 keeps, and then it's only the core that remains between us and our first victory in the best of 5.
Magdalene Cocktail killing Lucio, chunking on the right side. 20 right around the corner for Synergy. They move in for the clear, and they're holding for now. The curse has subsided here, so Synergy's still alive, but catapult pressure in the middle and bottom lane.
Oh, they go. Okay, they make the play for the boss. All right, that makes it a lot clearer. I was for a moment a bit irritated that they did not go for the keep, even though they were in a 5 versus 4. But they say we're gonna get it with the boss, so they want to fight here. They have the Horrify available again, using it already, going for Leoric. That should be the kill. Power of Dream, Detainment Strike, pushing him off the point. And even with Tychus in Odin, there's no way for Synergy to secure the boss. It's a double kill against them. The boss is going to move in, the keep is going to fall, and this should actually be the end of the game.
Yeah, it certainly should, especially if that boss is able to get to the core without taking any damage. Especially with Sir Ice Cream falling. Tricked Esport has clawed their way back into the series with Greymane and others. They are pushing into the keep with the boss, and this should be game.
This should be game. The Ghost is down. There's only Falset. Lucio's there as well. They're going to try and somehow divert the boss for at least a bit into over the middle. Leoric is back at least. The problem is if he falls now, once again, Soundberry comes out, but Leoric is about to fall. This is the end of the Skeleton King, and now the boss is on the core. Lucio dies as well, and this is definitely going to be the conclusion of game number 3, and Tricked is able to make a comeback into the series, taking the core down and winning the game on Cursed Hollow.
The series is suddenly becoming a series between these 2 teams, Synergy and Tricked Esports. 2-1 in favor of Synergy. But Tricked Esports really taking momentum on that battleground, and it all comes down to that boss call on the bottom left. There were moments where Synergy looked like they were setting up, they were gearing up for some pushes to grab some keeps, and everything just stopped right in their tracks.
I think you could have positioned yourself. You could have positioned yourself probably a bit better around that boss, making sure that if there's a Horrify, the tank is affected and no one else. But them able to get the insta-kill against the Tychus, that just was the beginning of the end. And then Trick builds up the momentum. But especially in the early game, I was really afraid for Trick. I thought we are looking at a potential 3-0 there, since Synergy was building up so much momentum. But they fell apart a bit after that. You could really see like the disarray, like them lacking coordination that they previously showed. So that was a good start here for Trick to make a comeback into the series. Well, they are still down. They still have to win 2 in a row now.
Yeah, they still have to win 2 in a row, which can be a very difficult task, but they have started at least the task, right? They got 1 game. They still need to do 2 more. One of the best ways you can do it is at least give yourself a little push and start moving down that road to Comeback City. I do want to mention that Neon on the back right also had a potential possibility to grab that boss away, but he missed the Mighty Gus on Arthas. Arthas just stood by, walked right by it. Power Dream was standing on top of that boss, and maybe it could have been a steal, but at that point, you're just hoping for a win. Let's go ahead and come right back for game number 4 between our 2 teams, Synergy and Tricked Esport.